Good morning, Peacemakers. Glad to be with you here. It's Thursday, the 6th of June, and I was reading a story. I read a story that I wanted to share with you concerning prayer. It was from an article or story written by actor Clint Walker. Uh, those of you that can remember that far back in the 70s, 60s, and 70s, he was the one who played. That was the main character in the series Cheyenne. Of course, he played a lot of other Western movies and other movies as well. But about an event that happened in his life, he said he'd always been athletic. You know, he'd always enjoyed doing outdoor things, but he had taken up a new sport for him, and that that was snow skiing. And he had gone to what's called Mammoth Mountain in California, and he was working with an instructor to learn how to ski. And he said he remembered one day he was at the, and one time in particular he was standing at the top of the run, the hill, and he looked down at the bottom. He could see almost a dot, his instructor waiting for him down there. And he said he launched off. It seemed like it was kind of a steep hill for him, being kind of a beginner. And he launched off of it. And as he was going down the twists and turns of the rather unlevel terrain, he said he lost his footing and he fell, and somehow his ski pole got turned around so that the handle part of it jammed into the ice and snow, or the snow and the snowpack, and the pointed part of it actually hit him in the chest, went through his chest and through his rib cage, and even pierced his heart. And he said he looked down. He could see he was laying there, and he could see his instructor had seen what had happened. He said, I tried to holler at him, but it was too. He said, I didn't have the strength or the air to knock the wind out of me, of course. And he said, I didn't have the strength of the air to be able to yell that he even needed help. But he said, I could tell that he knew that was something wrong. So they'd already began to put together, or began to work towards getting to him. He said, as he was laying there, he said some things happened to him. He said his mind and his thoughts began to kind of come together. And he said, I experienced what I can only describe as saying that my whole life seemed like, from start to finish, in my mind, seemed like just an instant in time, an instant in eternity. And he said, it seemed all completely to slow down. He said, I didn't have any kind of experience like my life passing before me or any of that. He said, but my mind focused in on the moment where I was. And he said he thought about that, and he talked to the Lord. He said, Lord, I'm in bad trouble and I need help. And he said, but he said, I felt a relief of almost acceptance that if this was it, that it was okay. Just the acceptance of that. And now in the story, he never does say he's a believer, but you get the impression that he has a strong belief in God answering prayer. He said, Lord, I'd like to stay around along this earth a little longer. He said, if you'll help me. And he said one of his favorite Psalms had been from Psalm 65, where it says, my soul, where the writer David is saying, my soul wait on the Lord, literally commanding his soul to wait on the Lord, because it was from him that, from the Lord or from God, that the expectation of whatever's next in your life comes. And I'm paraphrasing, but that's what he's saying. That's what he said. Anyway, he said about that time he felt himself being put on the sled kind of stretcher for rescue, and he said, my thoughts must have come back to me, or my sense of the here and now must have come back to me, because all of a sudden I was in a lot of pain, whereas I had not been while I was laying there on the hillside. And they took him to the hospital, and the little local hospital near the little town of Butler, and or the city of Butler, and they they got him. I guess they got him stabilized, and then they took him from there to a larger hospital, 50 miles away, and they did surgery. That was that was May the 24th, 1971. And he said he while he was recovering from that surgery, he got gobs of mail. He said bags of mail that they delivered to the hospital and to his home. And he said, as I was reading through that mail, I expected, to see the typical get well soon and all that kind of thing. But he said, I got a lot of letters about people describing how I had said as soon as I could, was able and stable. It's like I'd said to the reporters that I was trusting in the Lord, that I had asked God to help, and he had helped me. And he said, I was convinced that I would not be alive if it weren't for the Lord stepping in and doing something miraculous there. And he said he got these letters, all these letters. It's kind of surprising to him, but he said thanking him for speaking those words, for saying that, because it helped to strengthen. Different ones talked about the way it helped to strengthen their own faith, that someone had he had asked the Lord to help him, that he was convinced that it was the Lord the reason why he was still alive, the Lord's work, healing or protection, why he was still alive. And he said that those letters, in a roundabout way, came back around and strengthened my faith. And he said, I'm convinced that God used the letters as much to bless me as maybe the words I had shared blessed them. He also said, I learned something from it. I think the main thing I learned was the idea of recognizing a moment in time, and to be willing to wait on the Lord, to wait on His help, or His answer to your prayer, to wait and expect. Your expectation, as David said in Psalm 65, your expectation is from Him, or to Him, or 62 verse 5. He said, I learned that lesson in a clear way through that whole experience, that to learn to wait, to rest in the Lord, even in times when you're not sure what the outcome is going to be. He said he remembered he had sang several times in movies and shows that he had done, and he said, I knew what a rest was in music. A rest is that moment when there is no music, that it's a holding place, and yet the rest is part of the music. It's part of the music. He said the waiting time is valuable. It helps to make the music what it is, the rest. He said the same is true, I've learned in life, that those waiting times when God has you to wait, you're praying and you're asking God for whatever. You're talking to the Lord. Maybe you're busy for Him, but then He puts you in a position where you are maybe for a while waiting. You're not doing. You're not accomplishing anything. It seems like, but you're just waiting. And you're waiting on Him to do the next thing in your life. And He said, I realized the value of that. He said, I never had understood that before, but He said, I never will forget it again. It is important to learn to wait on the Lord in those moments when He places us in a position where we have to wait. Well, of course, we know the prophet said, they that wait upon the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount with wings as eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. We need to learn to do that. And of course, when you're waiting, you're praying and you're talking to the Lord. I hope that was a help to you. It was a help to me to read that story. He was one of the good guys, I think, in the cowboy movies and us movies back in the day. And it was interesting and helpful to hear that incident from his life. When I ask you to pray for a few people or a few things, we're glad to be able to tell you that Brother Sam is doing better. He's at home and rid of the pneumonia that he was facing. Do want to ask you to be with or pray for Sister Gail Graham, who's having surgery today. Keep her in your prayers. Also, I ask that you would pray for a young man in our church named Tim Moyer, who's in ICU and needs your prayers. However, I will tell you just good news. Tim told me, I went to visit him Monday. Tim told me that he got saved just a little less than a month ago. He thought he was saved before, but he said it was for the real deal this time, Brother Corby. Yes, so that's good to hear, Tim. But anyway, just pray for him. Keep him in your prayers, if you will. And then I want to ask you to pray for camp next week. Kids camp is next week at Walkaway Springs. Pray for Brother for Brother Anders Lee as he leads the camp. The speakers, Brother Brody McCool, pray for him as he brings the messages, and pray that kids, this is the age group. It's that age group. The kids camp is that age group where a lot of kids are reaching the age of accountability. And I think we need to be about the business of trying to reach them for Christ or to lead them to Christ at an early age before they reach their those teenage years and all the hormones kick in. So I would encourage you to pray for us, pray for the camp next week, and we look forward to God doing great things. Well, God bless you. Take care.